Hello and welcome to another episode of the ExpertCPG Commerce Podcast. My name is Ryan Flynn, the founder and CEO of ExpertCPG Commerce, where we help brands reach more customers on Amazon and beyond. And today we've got a question and answer show. So we went to LinkedIn, posted a post, asked questions. We got some of those in. We also took some questions that we commonly get when we're talking with brands and rolled those into about 5 questions we're going to answer here for you on the show and hopefully increase your Amazon knowledge a bit. So before we jump into the questions though, I just want to say if you are a brand that's on Amazon now and you're like, I don't think we're doing everything we can be, especially if you listen to this episode, you're like, oh my gosh, I saw a lot of the stuff that they're doing and we're not seeing this kind of results, or are we even doing these vCPM campaigns, which we'll talk about, right? Then we would love to actually show you what you can be doing in Amazon, not just tell you. So as a part of our talking to brands and helping brands reach more customers on Amazon, we offer an audit, and it's a free audit, no obligation. Essentially, you give us access to your Seller Central account. We take a deep dive look into what's working, what's not, showing you not only like, hey, you're doing great here, but here's some opportunities here. And so it's really eye-opening for brands to see this and understand, not just another agency telling you, hey, here's what we could do for you, but actually showing you and giving you some real-life examples for your brand. So if you're interested, just go to expertcpg.com/audit and fill out some information there. We'll see if you qualify, because again, we'll do a limited number of these. Just want to make sure that you're taking our team's time and doing these and making sure providing as much value for you as possible. So again, expertcpg.com/audit and fill out the form there. All right, let's dive into the questions for today's episode. Okay, for our first question today, we're going to cover one that we get a lot, and it's just a very common, not only in Amazon, it's a very common question only in Amazon, but also this in all digital marketing, right? And it's, what is a good ROAS or what is a good ACOS? So let's just first of all break those two terms down, right? A ROAS stands for return on ad spend, right? So essentially for every dollar I put into advertising, how many dollars of revenue am I going to get out? So if I spend $1 in advertising, or maybe $100 in advertising, let's use $100, and I have a ROAS of 3, I'm going to get $300 in revenue for that $100 in advertising, right? So that's ROAS. It's used for a long time. Amazon only started actually using ROAS a few years ago. Traditionally, they've always used what's called ACOS or ACOS, or advertised cost of sale. It's essentially just the inverse of ROAS, as it's expressed as a percentage. So it's ad spend divided by sales you've gotten from those ads. So again, using a similar example, if I spend $100 and I got $300 in sales from those ads, my ACOS is going to be around 33.33%, right? So it's a third. $100 is a third of $300. So that's what those two terms are, right? And so commonly the question is always, what's a good one, right? Oh my gosh, I've got a ROAS of 7. It's amazing. I've got a ACOS of 70%. It's horrible, right? Like you see it all over the board. And here's the thing. Everyone loves to brag about a good ROAS, and we do too, even internally. Ooh, that's a pretty juicy ROAS or pretty good ACOS, whatever it may be, what we're looking at. Here's the thing. It's different for everybody, right? You cannot compare, even if you're only comparing Amazon, it's apples to oranges almost all the time, right? Here's why. Every single product is different in terms of where it's at in its product life cycle, how mature the product is in market, like how much it's known for other channels. Like, are people just hearing about this, seeing it on a commercial and going to Amazon and buying it, and that's how they're finding it, right? Is it a brand new product with 0 reviews and you're just advertising to try to get sales going on it, right? If that's the case, let's say you're a brand new product, right? And maybe you've used Vine to get some initial reviews and now we're going to turn on ads, right? You could be at a 100% ACOS. That could be great, right? Another example would be, again, like you're a mature product. You've been in market for a long time. You're sold nationally and everywhere. And you have a ROAS of 3, right? That could be bad, right? Or a ROAS of 4. That could be bad, right? Like, again, there's no right or wrong answer. It all depends on what your goals are at that current moment with your products or your brand, right? So don't think in terms ACOS or ROAS of good or bad. Think in terms of, is it aligned with my goals? So I want to grow sales. Am I trying to just squeeze profitability out of this product line? Whatever it may be. So keep that in mind when you think about good and bad ROAS or ACOS. All right, next question. This one comes to us from Russell on LinkedIn. We put a post on LinkedIn asking for a couple questions for this episode, and thanks Russell for his question. So he asked, what is Amazon Global Logistics, right? It's an Amazon program, first of all, right? If you sell on Amazon, you probably get emails. Amazon is famously for like, hey, we're going to enroll at this program and we're going to set this team of account managers up to enroll people on this program. So they're going to like just spam your email by, hey, you got to sell in Brazil. You got to enroll in Amazon Global Logistics. You got to take advantage of transparency. That's a big one. And so those folks' jobs, nothing against them. Their job is just to enroll people in those programs. So that's why you always get those emails from Amazon. So let's talk about global logistics though, and what exactly that is, right? So Amazon Global Logistics, so taking a step back, it's always been difficult for brands, it's not easy, I should say, for brands to maybe ship their products from Asia and get them into the US, right? There's just a lot of steps and layers involved, right? And obviously, when there's lots of steps and layers involved, it increases costs, right? And it can also increase the amount of time it takes for product to go from manufactured to sale, right? And that's the carrying cost of inventory. You're thinking about inventory turns in a business. That's a real cost. There's expensive. So Amazon's view is if we can help our sellers, right, our brands, in terms of offering them maybe a lower cost, easier solution, and it's going to reduce those inventory turns, it's going to be better for the end customer, right? Amazon's always customer focused. So they really focus on that end customer. So it's going to lead to more availability. It's going to lead to better profitability ultimately for the brands, which may lead to more products. And so it's just this flywheel effect that's already working for Amazon. So let's dive into exactly what global logistics is. So Amazon has a great web page on their like sell.amazon.com site that explains global logistics. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to walk through it. But if you're viewing this, obviously you'll walk through it with me. And we're going to go through each of these things. So you're going to hear up on the screen a great kind of descriptive image of what global logistics is, right? And for those listening, I'm going to walk through it, or you can go to sell.amazon.com and find Amazon Global Logistics through there. So what it is, again, it shows right here on the screen. Amazon's taking things, once you get them produced at your warehouse in Asia, essentially, is that you can have them picked up by Amazon Global Logistics. And then from there, it's going to be taken care of the entire way from Amazon all the way into their fulfillment centers. So instead of you having to use all these different service providers, maybe use one like a Flexport that can do a lot of these things. And there's an advantage of doing that. Don't be wrong. Like if you're selling in multiple channels, but if you're talking about like, hey, we're doing this production run and it's just going to be for Amazon, maybe this doesn't apply to you. Obviously, you don't produce in Asia, but we're doing this manufacturing run and this is just going to go all to Amazon. Let's get in there as cheaply and quickly as possible. Maybe not doing air, but we're going to do ocean freight. So again, Amazon takes care of everything. So they're going to be picking it up for you. They're going to be clearing customs in the country it's leaving, putting it on a boat, right? And Amazon, what they're doing is they're just negotiating, maybe they do have their own boats, but they're negotiating space on these ocean liners. It's Amazon. So they can have this just big buying power of getting these great rates and then pass that on to essentially their sellers, right? They're going to help import customs here in the U.S., in the country of destination. I believe right now it is just the U.S., and then they're going to put it into their fulfillment network. And this leads to another topic I did want to cover is you can see here on the screen, you can get it sent directly to FBA, or you can actually do what's called AWD, another Amazon acronym. This one we call AGL, Amazon Global Logistics. AWD, it's Amazon Warehousing and Distribution. Think of it as like an upstream storage solution before FBA. So not quite a 3PL, but maybe just a 3PL that 3PL seriously do a lot of services, like they're going to build multi-packs and they can ship D2C, all this other stuff. Like Amazon Warehousing and Distribution, or AWD, is just really bulk storage of your product. It's in the same fulfillment centers typically though, right? Amazon famously overbuilt their fulfillment network several years ago and they had this excess capacity. Again, how can we utilize that? And this is one of the ways. So a big thing about AWD too is there's not like peak costs. So if you're talking about Q4, which is coming into here very soon, you're not going to have to worry about peak costs. And if you have storage, we've had clients that actually use this. Maybe Amazon, a couple of years ago, they changed how they calculate monthly storage units. And one of our seasonal clients that ramps up significantly in the spring time, they couldn't send in all their inventory, stay ahead of sales. So what we did as a team, we sent in some product into AWD. So it gets into Amazon's fulfillment network, and then Amazon's actually auto-replenishing FBA automatically, right? Nothing you have to do. You don't just click a button and send it over. It's automatically happening. And yes, there's an increased cost for that. There is a different rate sheet for AWD than there is just standard FBA. But the cost of not selling that product, not having it available, and losing that sales momentum would have been huge for that brand. So the cost was worth it. So again, just think of these things as they're branding this whole thing as supply chain by Amazon, which it also scares me, but it is exciting. So if you ship from Asia and think they're maybe rolling out to other countries here soon and into looks like fulfillment centers in the US, UK, and the EU, you can take advantage of this. And it's something you should check out. All right, our next question comes from Mike, also from LinkedIn. So thanks, Mike, for posing that question. Mike's question is, what are vCPM campaigns? So it's V as in Victor, C as in Charlie, P as in Paul, M as in Mary, vCPM campaigns. All right, so these are pretty exciting stuff when you dive into Amazon advertising. At least our team loves them, especially Taylor, our senior brand manager, has loved to set them up and love to watch the success of them. And a lot of folks on our team, a lot of our brand managers and their clients have seen success from these. So vCPM campaigns are a way to target customers on a more display basis. It's not cost per click. So what the vCPM stands for is the viewable cost per mil. And mil is the Latin term meaning thousand, so viewable cost per thousand. So it's not a click, it's more of a display type ad when viewing these. So that's essentially what it is. And how do you set them up? So I'm going to show you right here in Seller Central. All right, so I'm in here in Seller Central, starting a new campaign. I clicked on Sponsor Brands. You can also do this under Sponsor Display. So when you get down to this goal section of here, setting up a new campaign, you have an option. You have drive page visits, right? And it's going to say, you want to change your goal. And that's, as you can see, is cost per click, or CPC. The success metric is clicks, right? Or you have this grow brand impression share. That sounds like fancy. And click on that, and again, it's cost per viewable impression, right? The vCPM model we talked about. The success metric here, Amazon's telling you is top of search impression share, but success metric of all these is like sales and return, right? That's what you want to see. That's what we're seeing really great with this vCPM campaign. So usually the cost is ranging anywhere from $8 for these to $40. So the cost, you're going to see, you start building out these campaign suggested bids, it's going to say a ton, right? But you got to keep in mind, these are per 1,000 people, right? And then other markets that are really competitive, like you're talking over $100, right? But these can be utilized in, again, sponsored brands, sponsored display campaigns. And really the function is to maximize your brand and the eyeballs that see your brand, right? It's going to lead to a lot fewer clicks and a higher cost per click, typically, but not always, right? So we've seen both depending on the brand, the maturity of the brand, and where it is. We do see a really high conversion rate when done right, especially when it comes to branded type campaigns. So we've gotten crazy cheap. One of our clients that, they're a well-known brand in their space. They've been around for 50 or 60 years. They sell nationally in stores. And we did a branded campaign for them. And it was like a crazy amount. It was like $80,000 in sales over a couple months and that's like 150 ROAS. You're like, well, there's more to chew on that. And again, there's only so far you can go with these viewable impressions. But they saw great results from it. We took another client that went from like a 20% ACOS to like a 4% ACOS on this because of this targeting we're able to do. So you can direct people in a couple different ways, and that's showed down here on the ad group. You can go to this product collection, the store spotlight, this video. We've seen a bunch of good stuff from driving to the store, doing it that way, right? And so it just depends on how you set it up, what you want to filter people to, right, on these different things here. But again, vCPM, check them out, try them out, especially for your branded, if you're well branded in your space or people know about your brand from other channels. This is a great way to drive additional sales at a very low cost. All right, this next question is one we get from clients when we start talking about the program, and that question is, what are subscribe and save coupons? So you're like, oh, subscribe and save, I know that as both probably an Amazon customer. I know I do a lot of subscribe and save products, but also it's a brand where you have a repeatable purchase product, right? Something that people can purchase at a frequency. And obviously you want them to opt to that subscription to have that recurring revenue over and over again, right? Yes, offering a little bit of a discount is going to be better than them never coming back again and buying your product again. So locking them in, growing that customer lifetime value as much as possible. But the biggest thing is, how can you incentivize them in, right? You've been able to, for a while now, increase the discount you offer for subscribe and save. So if you want to offer a higher discount in the standard 5 or 10%, you can do that. But now there's something called subscribe and save coupons where you can actually help entice that whole thing. And let's walk through it here. All right, here we are in Seller Central. You're going to go to the advertising menu, click on coupons, and then you're going to see right here on the page, the first thing is setting it up, set coupon type, right? You got your standard coupons, subscribe and save coupons, and your reorder coupons, which we're going to talk about that now. But that's another way to obviously incentivize purchases. So let's talk about subscribe and save coupons. So again, these essentially offer someone a discount to on their first subscription, right? So instead of the 5 or 10% they may see on your page, you can be like, they'll see actually coupons typically show under the price, where it's listed, it'll say like save 40% on your first subscription, right? Which, I mean, that's a big discount for customers. If you have, again, people that are going to continually buy over and over again, think about like maybe a shampoo, right? And maybe you have high margins, right? Or at least you can afford that. Like maybe you're going to break even on that first sale, but then everything after that's going to be gravy, right? So you want to try to get those subscribers in here as much as possible. And so again, you're going to select subscribe and save. You can break it down by audience as well. You can actually choose, looks like Prime members, the audience available here, and then you're going to choose your product. All right, just like other coupons here, you can set a schedule when you want it to start and end, right? You can do anywhere from 1 to 90 days. So again, if you want to make sure you check out your performance here, see how it's doing. And if it does great and you want to keep running that, you need to redo it again for another 90 days. You can do money off, or percentage off. There's a lot of things that go back and forth between, hey, is it better to show $5 off? Is it better to show 20% off? It depends on a lot of factors, especially like if it's a smaller percent, if it's 10%, maybe it's better to show like they're getting $2 off of a $20 item than 10%, right? 10% isn't that great, but if it's like a 40%, that's a big saving. So maybe 40% works better than $6. So you can test this as well. You can limit them to one redemption per customer. You can set a full budget as well. You can name the coupons and you can stack it. So can people buy this the percentage off or buy one, get one free? And then on that final page, you're going to confirm everything and the coupon will start running in about 6 hours or so. But the biggest thing is you can go into Amazon on your dashboard and actually see the results of this and how this affects your subscribe and save numbers. All right, so if we go into subscribe and save reporting dashboard here in Seller Central, I want to show this. This is one of our real clients that we use this for last year. So like in April of 23, you can see the subscribe and save revenue monthly was about $2,600. We entered this coupon. I think we did like 30 or 40% enticement to get people to subscribe. Look what happened. So the numbers doubled from April to May, and then they went up to about 6,400. So a little, just about, maybe a little shy of 3xing their subscriber revenue. And then it started to drop off. We turned off the coupon, obviously. It dropped off a little bit because also a lot of people will subscribe and get that initial discount, and then they'll just cancel. They have no intention of actually keeping the subscription. So it leveled off here, but then again, we started one again just here in July. So we're down to 4,800 up to 6,100 in July, and we're not here through August yet, but that's the forecast. So again, this is like revenue here. If you go on to planned revenue here, you can see in the next 30 days, $6,000 revenue, next 90 days, because people have different subscription lengths. Next 90 days, $20,000 extra revenue from subscribe and save. So again, some of those clients are always going to do subscribe and save and always be a part of it. But if you can entice them and get them into it, right? Those people that were on the fence of maybe just purchasing one versus, hey, I think I do want this every 6 weeks or 3 months, whatever it may be, then use these coupons to get people in and get them purchasing more so you can increase your lifetime value. All right, our last question here comes from David from LinkedIn. So thanks, David, for posing a question. We really appreciate it. There's been a lot of talk about sponsored display eventually being rolled into DSP, which is Amazon's display program for advertisers. If that happens, how do you see ad management teams changing their investments? So great question, David. Sounds like it deep into Amazon display and at least Amazon ads, I'm sure. So let's first just talk about these things, sponsored display and DSP, what these things are. So DSP has been this program that's been along for a long time. It's more like display, programmatic advertising for Amazon, right? So you've always had to have like a separate seat or separate access outside of Seller Central to access these display networks to advertise, right? And maybe remarket or do some targeting on different sites, things like that. And you've never been able to really access these through Seller Central until Amazon actually brought in something called sponsored display a few years ago, and there were sponsored products, sponsored brands, and now sponsored display. So I know, David, your question was like rolling things from sponsored display into DSP. Over the past few years, we've seen a lot of the other things happening where they bring a lot of things from DSP into sponsored display. If what happened, the question you posed, I think a lot of other bigger brands, agencies like ours would really be chomping a bit to go out, hey, let's do more and more display, which obviously I think would raise those costs, right? I think probably the same thing's happening as brands go to do more sponsored display on Amazon, use the sponsored display ads within Seller Central. It increases costs, right? But if no one's really using them or doesn't know how to use them, you have low cost. We saw that happen a lot with sponsored brands and rolled out those video ads a few years ago. Nobody was doing them initially, so very low cost per click. That's just a good tactic for everybody, anybody. If Amazon ever rolls out like a new ad type, new ad platform, jump on it right away, because typically not everybody's going to do it. And you can typically start seeing like really good results because there's competition is very low. Maybe it's a brand new placement on the page on Amazon that they didn't have before. and now it's showing there, and you can start seeing really good results, right? So I would expect the trend to keep going from, hey, taking things from more DSP into sponsored display. Going back to your question of like, how would that affect their budget, manage their investments for these ad teams? And hopefully the brands look at it from like one bucket as far as like, hey, this is what we're doing on Amazon in terms of ads overall, right? And not worrying as much about the mix and looking more at the performance of what these different campaigns are doing. So whether it's a traditional campaign through DSP or whether it's a sponsored display campaign on Seller Central, right? They're looking at the performance and comparing that to maybe sponsored brand ads, sponsored product ads, and seeing which ones are working, which ones are not. I don't see it affecting unless a brand really has different line items for these different types of advertising, which may not be the best way to look at it, then I don't really see it affecting how these investments are played out too much. So the great questions. Thanks a lot, David. All right. Thanks to everyone who asked some questions today. Some great stuff. This is the first time we've done this, but I really enjoyed getting questions and answering them. So hopefully we can do this kind of episode again in the future. And hopefully you've gotten a lot of use out of this episode. The biggest thing we can ask for you is to please go to your podcast provider of choice, or if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff, because it really does help us. Or just do one of those things. Please just go on YouTube, leave a comment, go subscribe through your Spotify, wherever you're listening or viewing this. We really appreciate it. And that's how the episodes grow. And we will see you on the next episode of the Expert CPG Commerce Podcast.